Welcome to the fourth branch program, the place for common sense. Today is Monday, July 29th, 2019. I am MD. You will receive or may have received an announcement that says patriotism is our only hope to save the Republic, or something to that effect. Today, we will take a look at what patriotism has done for our nation and where we're at in this present time, and what can save the Republic from the state of affairs, from the predicament it is currently in. In 60 seconds, we will discuss the importance of patriotism. We will tackle the obstacles, and we will point fingers to those who are not doing the duty of patriotism they swore to do. In just a moment. If you joined us before, thank you. Your participation makes the journey a little bit lighter, a tad more bearable. If you join us for the first time, once again, welcome. The Fourth Branch program is not associated with any political party, and we at the Fourth Branch do not have any political agenda or aspiration. Our ultimate objective is to perfect the Union, and in order to do so, we ought to remove the biggest obstacle of all: ignorance. JFK said that the ignorance of one voter in a democracy impairs the security of us all. Thus, the importance of eradicating ignorance from our society. Patriotism. The statement that you may have received in an announcement that patriotism is our only hope to save the Republic can only make sense if the following two factors are met. One, we understand what it means to be a patriot. And two, we acknowledge that it's important. Now, the first part, what is patriotism? I mentioned here before, one of the major obstacles to getting any problem solved is an understanding of the problem and an acceptance that there is indeed a problem and thus a solution will be accepted and warranted. Throughout I don't know if it's a predicament that existed prior, but throughout the 2016 presidential election, crisscrossing the United States, talking to various people, there is a certain misunderstanding of what patriotism is. And when it comes to individuals within the Republican Party in general, that notion of patriotism is completely lost. I will explain shortly. You may recall, just as an example, and we'll come back to get to important aspect of this conversation today. You may recall that in 2016, at some point during the general election in particular, Julian Assange of WikiLeaks proposed that he would be releasing information that would damage Hillary Clinton, detrimental to Hillary Clinton. You may recall that the candidate for president called for a foreign government to get involved in our election. At that time, everybody thought he was just being Donald Trump, he was just joking, or he was just being outrageous. We now know that was not the case. So we have the individuals who asking the American people to vote him in office as the next president, literally, even if he were to be joking, let's take that from that perspective. Even if it were to be a joke, it would have been an unacceptable joke by any American patriot. And the reason is because patriotism is not a cover to hide under. It's not a word to use just because it makes you feel good, or it's not an expression that you can just throw around because, well, you were born in the United States of America, or just because you stand during national anthem and all that make you feel that you're a patriot. No, it doesn't. None of that does. So first, the very aspect of the candidate for the highest office in the land inviting a foreign government to get involved in our internal affairs should have turned off every patriot. That did not happen. And when WikiLeaks proposed that it would be releasing information damaging to Hillary Clinton, that was already bad enough that a foreign entity wants to influence our election, but that was only the smallest aspect of the story. All the Republican constituents cheered the idea. Yes, do it. We want to know. Just do it already. You wanted to know the definition of patriotism? Those two examples I just gave you tell you about individuals who are not patriots. Because as I mentioned, patriotism is not a word you just use when it feels good. It's not a pair of shoes you wear whenever you feel like because, of the occasion. No, that's not what patriotism is. Both the then candidate for president, inviting foreign government to meddle in our internal affairs, and the constituent cheering a foreign entity to meddle in our internal affairs are blatant example of lack of patriotism. Now, saying that you're a patriot doesn't make you a patriot. One can only claim to be a patriot through your actions, not your words. When it comes time to defend the country from all enemies, foreign and domestic, and I don't mean just take arm becoming a member of the armed forces. That too will help, can help. But as a citizen of the country, if you are a patriot, the job is when the country is attacked, however that happened, because currently we have enemy attacking us through means that we currently don't see, cyber attack. Your job as an American patriot is to provide all the necessary help to defend, and if you're not in a position to defend, at the very least to pass that information to the government, to entities that can help defend the republic. If you're not helping defending the republic, if you're encouraging enemy to hurt the republic, to harm the republic, you cannot call yourself a patriot. Because as I mentioned, patriotism is not a word to hide under. It's not a cover to hide under. You can only claim to be patriot when through your action you prove that you're willing to sacrifice certain aspect of your life in order to defend what is dear to you, what is important to you, which is our freedom, which is our democracy. And if you're not willing to do that, if you prefer to go hand in hand with the enemy because it provides you some temporary benefit, then you are no patriot. And stop telling people you are, because you are not a patriot. In the 2016, we witness everyone who supported and voted for Donald Trump cheering the idea of WikiLeaks meddling in our internal affairs. Before the 2016, I used to mostly write about, topics of politics, social issues, writing about things that I seen wrong that the government is doing or not doing, regardless of political party, which administration is in power. The 2016 was the first time that I put in video, in verbally, I verbalized my concern for the country. And the reason, because it was very blatant that citizens of the United States would throw away everything our democracy stands for in order to support a foreign entity. At that time, we did not even know that WikiLeaks was in bed with Russia. To me, it didn't matter, because WikiLeaks should not be allowed to exercise any influence in our election. So it did not matter to me that was the case. Again, as I say, we did not know that was the case. In fact, it feels a very sad situation for the United States of America that we have millions of individuals, especially the Republican Party, always claim to be patriots, always claim to be defenders of the rule of law, but they were the first one to open their arms to welcome foreign involvement in our internal affairs. individual as President of the United States opened the door for foreign government. The constituent of the Republican Party, the Republican constituent, welcome the idea. Where is the patriotism in what you just heard? And what you just heard is not an opinion. The president, then candidate for the presidency of the United States, publicly welcome foreign involvement in our election. The only thing we didn't know, those words weren't empty words. They weren't just outrageous, but they were invitation, actual invitation to do so. And the constituent, they were all for that. Do you see patriotism here? When the framers of the Constitution crafted the Constitution, they had a number of guardrails that they placed. They always knew that there was a possibility that the individual who occupied the Oval Office could be a rogue agent of a foreign government. They always knew that. They made provision for that. If you read the Constitution, they even made provision for such individual being a traitor. And we have provision in the Constitution for that. Guardrail. They made provision for an individual who was not at all concerned about the well-being of the country. Incompetent. It's all in the Constitution. Guardrail. They made provision for the legislative branch to hold the executive branch responsible, accountable. Guardrail of democracy. They also made provision for the people, the constituent, to take into their hands matters of our democracy if the elected official stray away from doing so. Guardrail of our democracy. But let's see what happened. But all that I just mentioned to you require that those guardrails are sustained, they are preserved by patriots. First, we have the President of the United States, who is not a patriot. Not my opinion, by his action, is not a patriot. Okay, the Constitution did provide a remedy for that. The legislative branch. The Republican Party fully in control of the legislative branch for the first 2 years of the administration. Nothing was done. The executive branch was not held accountable, which means the guardrail fell. Now, the only aspect of the guardrail that remained were the people. Well, it so happened that as far as Republican constituents were concerned, there was no problem. In fact, you may recall that there were 50, 49 senators, Republican senators, before the 2018 midterm election. Now there are 52, 53, I'm no longer sure, but it's a number that do not care about what Democrats think. So as far as Republicans are concerned, the idea of patriotism doesn't matter. They elect the individual, they put in office the individual who publicly called a foreign entity to meddle in our internal affairs. Now, the which are the people, the constituent, could have taken care of that problem, but those guardrails also fell because, contrary to what they were claiming, Republican, they were claiming that they are patriot. They proved in the 2016 election that was just words, not anything they want to live by, just words. The unfortunate part is the fact that, well, the country believed it. I never did, if you care to know, because before the 2016 election, in fact, since 2013, I've been debunking Republican patriotism. So 2016 was not a turning point for me, maybe for the rest of the country, because I've been watching, observing, analyzing behavior, action by the Republican legislature, and it was no surprise to me that they would go along with a foreign government offering help. Yes, the rest of the country, in fact, I remember very clearly writing articles to that effect that people were just pushing back, some shrugged it off, some ignored me because it's just a damn liberals talking. And in 2016, we saw it live from the legislators, from the aspirant to the Oval Office, from the constituent, that indeed they are no patriot. If I were to be a soldier serving the United States of America, defending our democracy, and to see this is the kind of behavior the people of the country adopt, I would feel that my loyalty is misplaced. Because the whole point of defending the country is to prevent our enemies from having any impact or any influence in our democracy. For me to see that's what's going on in the country, I would have been really, really upset, because I would have thought, what the hell? I'm serving the country, I'm defending the country, and then you have millions of people who pretend to be patriot. They going to the poll and they cheering enemy to get involved, and they going to the poll to elect an individual who is calling on the enemy to meddle in our internal affairs. I would leave it. Are you a patriot? Now we could all say that if you want to be fair, and part of the problem, I put it on the shoulder of some of those individuals who are supposed to be the voice of this nation, referring to journalists. Because in the 2016, not only they gave a pass to those kind of things done by the individual aspiring to occupy the highest office in the land, but they encourage it. I remember very clearly they scrutinized everything that Hillary Clinton had to offer. Every plan, everything that she said she will do for the country, they scrutinize it, they dissect it, they ask sometimes stupid questions about the plan. Donald Trump did not have one, did not have a plan about anything. I know that because I spent a tremendous amount of time in Donald Trump website. The longest thing that was said in that site was about immigration. It was a 2-page, literally speaking, and that was as if it was written by an 8th grader. But all journalists, they left Donald Trump alone. They just hand Donald Trump the microphone and they scrutinized everything that Hillary Clinton did. So in a sense, that guardrail, which is the media, fell. That guardrail fell as well. In order not to hold themselves accountable, they came up with all kind of reason why Donald Trump won the election. It was the people who were tired of Washington. It was the people who didn't feel they were represented. I mean, they went on and on and on about what could have caused that. I'm here to tell you, all that was baloney. None of that actually was represent the reason that those individuals voted for Donald Trump. You may not recall necessarily that during the 2016 midterm election, actually the primaries, before Donald Trump took over the stage, every single individual across the country that was interviewed, when I say every single, not individually, but individual in the Republican Party across the nation from different states that were surveyed, interviewed, they all think Donald Trump was a joke and would never have voted for Donald Trump. A joke he was. So were the people who voted for him. Now today, people who are defending Donald Trump say, well, the economy is great. All right, let's pretend the economy is so great that now you're blinded by it. But at the time that you voted for him, you did not know what was going to happen. So we cannot put it on the economy is great. Now, we can take all that we just said and say, well, a number of those people realize that they made a mistake. Maybe, not according to the polls, not according to the survey, because so far, seeing that has occupied the Oval Office, his number in terms of percentage of people who voted him in office, people who have always supported him, that number has not changed. So that argument out of the window. So we could have said, all right, those people, some of them realized that they made a mistake. Although I just demonstrated to you that's not the case. But, and they realize that and they think, okay, well, we'll fix that problem later on. 2018 midterm, they did not fix the problem. Now you could say Democrat got the House, Congress. It wasn't the Republican who did that. It was the independent. the Republican overwhelmingly voted for the senators because they mostly in state where Donald Trump won, and they again went for the Republican. So no, they did not think they made a mistake. Their lack of patriotism was reinforced with the Republican senators winning the upper chamber. The only thing that can save our nation today is patriotism. But we already established that Republicans, both legislators and constituents alike, are not patriots. So the task to save the Republic, the country cannot look to the Republican to help. They're not going to. They already proved it. They couldn't care less about patriotism. They proved it in 2016. They proved it in 2018. And through the poll, the survey that we've been having, they proving that they couldn't give a damn. So the idea of redeeming our nation falls squarely on the shoulders of the Democrats and the independent. We'll come back to take a look at what the outrageousness of the Republican legislators who make what I just discussed about lack of patriotism look like a walk in the park.
Live from New York City at the top of the hour, every weekday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. The Fourth Branch presents discussions, debates, commentary on social, political issues, current events, sports, entertainment, religion, education, science, and every Saturday at 10:30 a.m. for a full presentation on controversial issues such as abortion, homosexuality, war on blacks. Are Republicans dumber than Democrats? Information which might irritate you, make you cry, make you laugh, but above all, will make you smarter. Join us every time. It is the right thing to do. It is the only way to keep your sanity in a world of chaos, hypocrisy, immorality, and deception. Welcome to Common Sense.
I invite you to take a look at the peoplebranch.org. That's where we publish articles of social political flavors. More specifically, today we are looking at a number of articles that we publish in regards to lack of patriotism in the Republican Party. You can search for patriotism, the word, or you can search for Republicans are no patriot, the sentence, and you will find a number of such articles. And one of those articles were published actually early in 2018, in April, in May of 2018. And one such article started this way: Most Republicans are no patriot. Most Republicans seem incapable of understanding the simple concept that the interference of a foreign government in our system of democracy is not acceptable under any circumstance. As I mentioned, you will be able to find a number of articles, and I'm not going to read all of them or most of them to you. They're all on the peoplebranch.org, and I strongly encourage you to visit the website for not only these articles related to patriotism, but also articles related to other matters of importance as well. George Washington says that, well, actually it was more like a warning. He said to guard against the imposture of pretended patriotism. Question: why would George Washington issue that warning? Strange, isn't it? Because George Washington was surrounded with patriots. The people who actually helped craft the Constitution. People who were very adamant fighting against the mainland, England. People who took arms, who would die to prevent a foreign government, in that case England was that foreign government, from coming and subverting whatever democracy they were trying to implement in this newfound land. And yet, George Washington stopped and reflected. Guard against the imposture of pretended patriotism. You have to weigh that really very heavily to really pay close attention to the words. Guard against the imposture of pretended patriotism. Pretended patriotism. Putting your hand on your chest during the national anthem is pretended patriotism. Just say you are a patriot because you were born right here in the United States is pretended patriotism. Just say you are a patriot and at the same time encouraging our enemy into involving in our internal affair is pretended patriotism. So George Washington wasn't crazy when he issued that warning. But what our framers did not anticipate is to have a whole political party, the political party as a whole, not just a few people, not just a few members, not just a few constituents, all pretend to be patriot. And that's not just an opinion. We have the facts to prove it. From the very individual who aspire to the highest office in the land, to the people who actually voted in office, they all pretended to be patriot. Any man can make mistake, right? That's what Marcus Cicero said. He is a Roman philosopher. It's 63 BC. Any man can make mistake. There is no if and but about it. We know that. Any man can make mistake. Every man has made mistake. But Marcus Cicero said, any man can make mistake, but only an idiot will persist in his error. So in other words, all will make mistake, but those who cannot or will not move away, recover from those mistakes are called idiots. Not by me. I'm too shy to say those things. I'm too polite to even repeat that word. But Marcus Cicero said that. Now let's take a look at a very interesting aspect of what I would call a troubling lack of patriotism in the Republican Party. Have you ever noticed that the people who need something the most are always the one avoiding it? Let's take, for example, just you may have encountered either at the park, your neighborhood, at the gym, people who seem fit, people who seem physically fit. They seem to be in good shape, physical shape, that is. But you always meet those people running around, exercising. They try to stay healthy, right? You've seen them. I mean, you've seen all those people running around at the park. You've seen them in Massachusetts especially. There are a lot of those different places that it's safe, parks, whether it's public or even on the sidewalk. Certain areas are very comfortable for people to do those type of exercise. And yet you see tons of people running around. But you look at each and every one of those people and you say, those people are fit. Well, physically, we don't know what's going on with their health, but physically, they look in good shape. But they are the one doing the running, the exercising. So what happened to those who really need the exercise? What happened to those people? I guess the point I'm trying to make here is, have you ever noticed that people who need something the most are always the one avoiding it? We have found that out right here in this program. Most people feel, I don't have to listen to that guy. The reason they don't have to listen to that guy is because they're looking for places that corroborate their feelings, however false. They corroborate their ideology, however false. So I don't have to listen to that guy. Actually, there are the people who need to listen to that guy. Because this program is not a make-feel-good program. We did not decide to bring this program forth in order to make people feel good. The purpose, the objective, the ultimate objective of this program is to perfect the union. And there are so many obstacles, and one of such is ignorance. There are so many obstacles that prevent that from happening. We're more interested in the well-being of the country, not of a political party. So we don't talk. Obviously, it may be pretty blatant in a sense that we spent a great deal of time for the past 2 years talking about really how bad things are from that perspective in the Republican Party. Now, you may call or decide to label the discussion, the debate, a damn liberal talking or Democrat, but one thing you cannot walk away from is what being discussed is not something that concocted out of a hat. This is not a story that's created. Those are factual information provided to you that you don't like because you prefer to hear someone who actually lied to you instead of presenting the fact and trying to work out a solution. And that's really the purpose of this program. In order to discuss a solution, you have to know what the problem is. And that's what we do. We bring forth the problem. So that reminds me that the answer to the question, what happened to those people that you would expect to see at the park running or at the gym exercising, but you're not seeing them? What happened to those people? Most likely you'll find them standing in line at McDonald's, or with a pint of ice cream in their hand and gobbling it all down in one scoop. No pun intended here, but it's funny. In other words, those who really need the exercise would not exercise, but worse, they don't want to stay close to people who would tell them that they need to exercise. So they walk away from those people. Same thing here. This program is not to convert people from one political party to the other. This is not the purpose of the program, but rather to present to you what wrong the political party that you belong to is doing, and as a constituent, you can do something about it. You don't have to leave your political party necessarily, but you can force the hands of your legislature to do the right thing. That's the purpose of this program. So I encountered many individuals. In fact, I may have mentioned that before. If I were to be someone who get discouraged very quickly, I would have, because I had a bunch of those people who stopped following me. They're trying to punish me because I don't want to listen to that guy. They're looking for someone to speak what they want to hear, no matter how false, no matter how bad, no matter how detrimental it is for the country. That's what they want to hear. And that guy is not talking my language. I'm saddened by the whole situation. Especially in regards to patriotism. The action, the behavior of the Republican Party in the 2016 presidential election is a point in our history that we can look at and say, my God, we had half the country who did not care about the United States of America. We had half the country who sold the soul of the country for political victory. We had half of the country who sided with our enemy, our number one enemy. Half the country. Now, of course, you can put any kind of rationale behind the behavior. You can spin it whichever way you want. But the bottom line remains that half the country encouraged, nurtured, welcomed the idea of a foreign entity getting involved in our internal affair. No matter how you spin it, that's what that was. That's not patriotism. Which means we don't have the leaders, those people that we consider leaders to lead. You know, leaders lead. Those people we considered leaders to lead the people are actually doing exactly the same thing, or better yet, they're leading the people in the wrong path. The duty of a patriot is to protect his country from all enemies, foreign and domestic. The duty of a patriot is to protect the country from all enemies, foreign and domestic. Wednesday, 24th of July, 2019. Robert Mueller was on Capitol Hill and one of the most memorable moment was Robert Mueller issuing a warning against the very country which interfered in our election, Russia. Here's what he said. I'm paraphrasing here. That as we speak, Russia is currently actively working to again interfere in the 2020 election. And Robert Mueller was not making a statement in the void. He's a former FBI. He spent the past 2 years investigating Russia meddling in the 2016 election. He was making a statement of facts. And he said, as we speak, which means on Wednesday, 24th, 2019, as we speak, Russia aggressively working to again interfere in the 2020 election. Now, what do you think any patriot would have done? What do you think? Think. What would a patriot do? The duty of a patriot is to protect his country from all enemies, foreign and domestic. Now, if you thought Republicans were not patriot because they encourage a foreign enemy to meddle in our election in 2016, the individual who vied for the Oval Office inviting the enemy to interfere in our system of government. Now you could say, all that is past. Yes, we know that Russia may be trying, but we're not going to let that happen, are we? The very next day, Mitch McConnell killed a bill which purpose is to protect the 2020 election from cyber attack. Yes, on Wednesday 24th, Robert Mueller issued that warning that Russia is still working to meddle in the next election. The very next day, Mitch McConnell, who is the Senate Majority Leader, who took an oath to protect and defend the United States of America, killed a bill which purpose is to defend the United States from cyber attack from Russia. And those people are patriots? Don't you ask yourself that question? What the hell are those people in there for? What is their job? Even without Robert Mueller warning, forget about Robert Mueller for a moment. A bill to protect the United States of America from our enemy attacking our system of government, our election, is killed by the very individual whose job is to protect the United States of America. What the hell are those people there for? What were they elected for? What is their job? What do they want exactly to do to the country? Yes, the very next day. Now, I believe Mitch McConnell, and it seems that I'm pointing fingers to Mitch McConnell. Of course, he is the Senate Majority Leader. He can do that. But what happened to the other Republicans? How come nobody else is talking? It's because they go along with what Mitch McConnell does. They too couldn't care less about what happened to the United States of America. What happened to the constituent? What happened to the Republican constituent? Here's what Mitch McConnell said. The bill will benefit Democrats. Sometimes I feel like I'm living in a country where there are only people who buy the argument of those politicians because they don't have a brain to process of their own. The bill will benefit Democrats, protect the country from foreign government, from interfering, from attacking our system of government, will benefit the Democrat. And that's the argument? This is the Republican Party. This is what they stand for, and they want you to think they are patriot. Yes, the first person in the legislative body, the person that has the most power in the legislative body, kill a bill to protect the United States of America from cyber attack by one of the most powerful enemy that the United States of America has, Russia. That is indeed what the Republican Party is about today. Pretended patriotism. The legislators do not care. The constituents do not care. So we know, and this is not an opinion, we've been giving you example after example of what the Republican Party as a whole, both legislators and constituents, have been doing to damage the United States of America, to the detriment of the United States of America. And you call yourself patriot? And you think those actions are good for the country? Listen to Mitch McConnell explaining killing the bill. It will benefit the Democrat. So protecting the country from our enemy will benefit the Democrat. Knowing Mitch McConnell, that is probably the saddest rationale that he has, because he could not come up with anything rational, anything logical rather. It will benefit the Democrat. Protecting the country would benefit the Democrat. That's really the argument. I was under the impression protecting the country would benefit America, would benefit everyone. If you sense that I'm outraged, it's because I am outraged. Because to have people elected to serve the United States of America, to protect our democracy, to defend our Constitution, those are the very people who are actually working to undermine our democracy. Yes, the very people. They've been in Washington for decades. Mitch McConnell actually is almost like a fixture in Washington. He's not a newbie. He knows those things, how they impact the country. And yet, he still killed the bill that protects the United States of America from our foreign enemy. If you are a patriot, you cannot not be outraged, because this is not a matter of being Democrat or being Republican, because the very reason that our democracy survives is because of that very structure of our government. The minute that you don't have any oversight, then at that point the idea of democracy in the United States of America ceases to exist. So if you are a Republican and you think it's okay, then you too are no patriot. There is no other word of saying it. No matter what you hear people saying, trying to sugarcoat, trying to go around to explain it to you, that's all it means. If you are okay with what is currently going on with Donald Trump, with the Republican Party, you categorically are not a patriot. And no matter what you think of yourself, you are not a patriot. Because a patriot is someone who would give or who would make sacrifice sometimes of his or her own life, let alone sacrifice a political party in order to preserve the democracy, in order to preserve the Constitution, in order to preserve the rule of law. So if you cannot do that, don't talk to anyone about being patriot, because you are no patriot. I hope this presentation provide you with information that can help restore a system of government your children, your grandchildren can be proud of. In other words, I hope this presentation was of some use to you. If not, you already know what to do. Send us your comments, your criticism, your suggestion. Let us know how to make it better. As I mentioned here many times, this program is not going anywhere. You might as well help to make it better. In the meantime, should you have a particular topic you would like us to discuss, let us know. We will research it, we will debate it right here on the Fourth Branch program, the place for common sense. I hope you have a fantastic day, a great afternoon or evening, whichever it happened to be. Hopefully you can join me again tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. for another interesting episode of the Fourth Branch program. I am MD. Good day. That was an update through the prism of common sense. Join us again tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. for a full presentation. I am MD, host of the Fourth Branch program, the place for common sense. Send us comments, criticism, suggestion, or simply let us know how we're doing. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful afternoon. See you next time.
The Fourth Branch podcast is brought to you in collaboration with the People Branch publication, which can be found on the People Branch website, located at peoplebranch.org. That's peoplebranch.org. That's peoplebranch.org website, in which you will find a number of very interesting articles. My name is Mike Duchesne, MD for short. I hope you have a great afternoon or a great evening, whichever it happens to be. Hopefully you can join me again next time for another interesting episode of this podcast. That was the Fourth Branch, live from New York. Good day.